All right, hello everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the first event for our Biotech Takeover Week. My name is Renee Love, and I am the Career Counselor for Engineering and Technology students here at the University of Delaware. I, along with my colleague Jen Laird, who's the Assistant Director for Health and Science, will be facilitating this evening's discussion.
Good evening, everyone. Like Renee said, my name is Jen Laird. This is Kit, the dog. Sorry, she'll be joining us this evening. Next, we're going to go ahead and get started introducing Ms. Means and also our moderator. And we're going to start by showing you a brief video clip, which Renee is bringing up for us here shortly. So bear with us.
Your goggles down, we're gonna get started. Most kids wouldn't be happy spending a Sunday morning in a room full of beakers and tubes. But with the help of 16-year-old Jacqueline Means, these young girls are learning science can be a whole lot of fun.
Fake mo.
Oh yeah, delicious. Go ahead, pour it.
Teen Science with Jacqueline Means. So great to see you, Jacqueline. Put it in there.
Poke it in there.
Oh.
And just like that. Yep, and then you're going to put it down.
Put it in there. Put it down. Whoa! Whoa! That's awesome! This is awesome!
17-year-old Wilmington, Delaware native and aspiring neurosurgeon, Jacqueline Means is helping inner city girls embrace science and technology with her Wilmington Urban STEM initiative, which has helped 1,500 students and counting.
Pretty excellent footage there. So we're so very excited to have Jackie Means with us today. I'm going to read a brief bio. Wilmington, especially Southbridge, is often associated with negative things. Shootings and drug deals are both things one may think of when someone says Wilmington, but Jacqueline Means is changing that. Sorry, I lost my place. Jacqueline is a medical diagnostics pre-med track major at the University of Delaware. She is also the proud founder of the Wilmington Urban STEM Initiative, an organization dedicated to bringing science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, to the underprivileged girls of Wilmington. Jacqueline is certainly changing the stigma surrounding Wilmington by being an advocate for STEM education and volunteering her time to engage the youth of Wilmington and empower them to pursue careers in STEM fields. She does this by hosting Girls Empowerment STEM events, workshops where she leads hundreds of girls in fun, hands-on science experiments. Because of COVID-19, she's been unable to host these lately, but she's continuing to spread not only her love of STEM and also hope and happiness by posting STEM videos on both her YouTube channel as well as her multiple social media platforms and leading virtual sessions on Zoom. She has been, as you can see, she's been featured on national television shows, including Today's Show, The View, the Steve Harvey Show, The Kelly Clarkson Show, CBS's Mission Unstoppable, where she's a series regular, Dr. Oz, Access Hollywood, and many others. Welcome, Jackie. Renee is now going to introduce our moderator, Dr. Lynette Overby.
Thanks, Jen. My absolute pleasure. So Dr. Overby is a professor of theater. She has served as equity administrator for the University of Maryland College of Health and Human Development, where she spearheaded efforts to recruit and retain minority students and faculty. Before coming to the University of Delaware, She served as the College of Arts and Letters Associate Dean of Outreach, Engagement, and Inclusivity at Michigan State University. Currently, Dr. Overby serves as Director of the Community Engagement Initiative and a Professor of Theater and Dance. Her publications have appeared in the Journal of Mental Imagery, the Journal of Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance Cognition, Imagination, and Personality, and the Journal of Dance Medicine and Science. With co-authors Beth Post and Diane Newman, Overby published the book Interdisciplinary Learning Through Dance, 101 New Ventures. She serves as co-editor of 7 volumes of dance current selected research. And in my opinion, Dr. Overby is also a wonderful mentor. Welcome, Dr. Overby. Dr. Overby, you may now begin.
Thank you. And Renee is a wonderful mentee. So I'm so pleased to be able to moderate this session. I had an opportunity to look at the whole YouTube video and just see how wonderful your work is and how you engage people of all ages, not just the girls in the schools, but everyone seems to be so surprised and engaged in these activities, and also your story of empowerment. So we have a few questions and I'll just jump right in. So how are you doing and how have you managed during this pandemic?
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, can't complain. I still get to go to school. I've still been able to make some new friends and have some new experiences. But I would say my way of coping throughout the pandemic has definitely been just working on getting more organized. And people always think I'm like lying when I tell them this, but I have 3 whiteboards in my room and they all keep me on track and on schedule with my due dates and all my events and things I have to do. So the one is for the week, the one is for the month, and then the other one is for the year. And I map out all my goals and things I need to get done. And each one, it's like a little just rush of happiness when I get to cross off something on one of my boards. But that's how I've been coping, just refining my organization skills and doing my best to not procrastinate, but still sometimes doing it. But just making my way through day by day, spending more time with my family, my friends, and just enjoying the time I have with them before I eventually go off to med school and I don't really get to see them as much anymore. But just making the best of every day.
That sounds wonderful. So can you walk us through your journey, how you were able to create your organization at such a young age?
Yes, so I started my organization, the Wilmington Urban STEM Initiative, when I was just 12 years old. And the idea came to me a few years before when I was like 9 or 10. And that happened because like I said, I live in a very rough part of Wilmington, Delaware, that's been called Southbridge, but also nicknamed Murdertown, USA. And living somewhere that's called Murdertown, USA, you can imagine it's pretty negative. And my mom, she always told me and my brother, she was like, I love you guys. I really don't want you to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I'm not going to let you play outside. And of course, that was heartbreaking to a little kid. You want to run, you want to play, you want to jump. But living here, we couldn't do that. So I had to find something fun to do indoors inside the house where it was safe and sound. And that something fun eventually became science. And it's a funny story how I actually kind of stumbled into science. My older brother had a science fair project to do, and him and my dad worked on it for like 3 weeks, and they, mapped out the idea, the size, the measurements, all of that good stuff. And they came up with a cliche, but it still worked, a paper mache volcano. And it was this big triangle, and it had, the little hole at the top, and they painted it brown and red and orange, and it was so cool. And they told me, because they knew I love to touch stuff, they said, JQ, that's what they call me. They said, JQ, do not touch any of these things up here. And I said, okay, no problem, guys, I got it. And of course, I go down the night before he has to hand it in, and I pick up everything I can find and I pour it into the top. And of course, I'm having fun. I mean, it's coming shooting out the top, it's bubbling, it's fizzing, it's amazing. But they were very, very mad at me the next day. But I loved it. And that was kind of how I stumbled into science. And I remember telling my mom, like, look, I know you didn't like what I did, but I had a great time. Like, what is that stuff? And she was like, all right, well, let's get you your own kind of set of science stuff so you can leave your older brother alone. So she bought me little science kits. She looked on YouTube. She let me look on YouTube and watch some videos about like experiments I could do at home. like making oobleck, making slime, which is just simple ingredients you can get from the grocery store, or like the art store, anything like that. And I just fell in love. I thought it was amazing. And I remember going to school and telling my friends, like, oh, Susie, get this. I just made oobleck, which is a non-Newtonian substance that doesn't act like a liquid or a solid. And she was like, girl, I don't care. That's lame. And I was like, what are you talking about, Susie? You're crazy. And I remember just thinking, why, like, aren't my friends as interested and excited about this as I am? Because this is incredible to me, but they seem just totally not interested. And I said to my mom, I was like, Mom, we need to make these girls see that this is awesome. You know, they don't get it. They're blind to how amazing this is. And I told her, I was like, all right, here's the plan. Here's how it's going to go down. Let's bring all the girls from the neighborhood to our house, which is not that big. I said, bring all the girls to our house. We're going to have a party here. There'll be pizza and soda and a whole bunch of messy science experiments, and it'll be so much fun. And then you can clean it all up, Mom. And she was like, absolutely not, Jacqueline Victoria. Let's map this out a bit more. So the idea kind of morphed from a sort of party in our house to a just day of empowerment at a community center that we would partner with. And then it just grew from there. We did it every 3 months, and we had, more and more girls come in attendance at each one. And here we are 7 years later, still doing the same thing, just on a larger scale, impacting more girls. And that's my origin story.
That's quite a story to start that young at 9 or 10 and to share your love for science. That sounds like an incredible parent that you have as well.
Yes.
To
She's
support you.
Main supporter. I mean, I always tell people
that.
I wouldn't be who I am or where I am without my mom. She's always the one who says, you know what, no matter what you're interested in, I'm going to support you 100%. I did a lot when I was a kid and all throughout middle school, elementary school, high school. I did competitive cheer for many years, #1 supporter. I did competitive chess for many years, #1 supporter. And when I brought up another crazy thing, like, let's start our own organization, she was my #1 supporter. So she's really my #1 cheerleader.
That's wonderful. So I have a question now about the fact that we have a lot of students here today, and many are still deciding on a career path. And in your opinion, why should they choose STEM? Why is STEM an interesting field for them to get into? Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I would say that STEM, sometimes people tend to throw STEM careers into a box and think that you can only be a scientist, a technologist, an engineer, a mathematician. But STEM is seriously such a broad term, and it's an umbrella term, really. I mean, so many careers fall under the fields of STEM, even ones that people wouldn't think of. At my Girls Empowerment STEM events, it was so much more than just leading the girls in science experiments. I would have my own set of experiments that I would do. And then I would also have experiments for the girls to do, and I would lead them in them. In addition to that, I would bring in empowering female speakers for the girls to listen to and hear about how they have elements of STEM in their everyday lives at their jobs. For example, the Wilmington City Treasurer, Velda Jones-Potter, she was someone I had come and talk to the girls because as a treasurer, she uses a lot of math in her everyday life. And I also had a good friend of mine, Dr. Terry Quinn Gray, come and talk to the girls. And she was actually a researcher at the DuPont company. And she told the girls she made everything from lipsticks to bombs and all kinds of different things. And I mean, her career was literally falling right under the STEM field, even though she made such a wide variety of items. And just showing the girls that STEM is such a broad term and so many careers fall into STEM. I tell them that if you love makeup, you could go into the field of making makeup, the mica that goes into highlighter and all that, and the pigment that goes into our eyeshadows, things like that. That's science, And then of course, technology is in our everyday lives. We're using Zoom right now, and we're all using different pieces of technology. So it just permeates every different aspect of our lives. So I would say a good reason to go into STEM would be, I would say almost every career has some aspect of STEM in it, but I really do think that specifically STEM careers are the way of the future. I mean, STEM has become such a major part of our everyday lives. We use it so often, especially throughout the pandemic, in medicine, in school, in academics, and just all kinds of things. We use it so much. So it really is the way of the future. So if you want to be ahead of the game and, at the forefront of innovation, I would say go into STEM.
And that sounds excellent. Excellent information. And also, you probably won't have to worry about getting a job, right?
Yes, everyone wants someone in STEM.
Of that. Yes. So our next question is, so where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And how do you hope your organization will grow?
5 to 10 years, I hope to have graduated from the University of Delaware. Fingers crossed if I make it through all these semesters. But my goal is to go into the MD PhD program at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. I actually just completed a neuroscience internship through their neuroscience department at their School of Medicine, and it was an amazing experience. I got to dissect rat brains, which was super cool, and look at meninges and neurons and culture diseases. It was really cool science stuff. It was amazing. And it just was a reminder that this is exactly what I want to be doing. But my goal is to go into their 8-year program where I can get both my MD and my PhD. And I always tell people, I will not work 8 years to not be called Dr. Jacqueline Means, double doctor. But that's the goal. But for my organization, I would like to keep growing it and expanding it and impacting young girls as much and as long as I can, because I feel the work I do is very important. And the validation comes from when I see little girls walk into my events, or when I go to their schools or community centers, they have this big scowl on their face and they're like, oh, I don't like this stuff. This is boring. This is terrible. I hate STEM. And from that moment to the end of the demo or the presentation or the day, they are just beaming from ear to ear. They had so much fun. They run up to me. They go, Miss Jackie, when are you coming back? Like, this is so cool. I want to do some more. And it's amazing to see just that kind of flip in their mind that, oh my gosh, this is something really fun and exciting, but mainly something I can do. I mean, that's, why I keep going and doing what I'm doing, because I know that I'm having an impact in their lives and really showing them and empowering them to go into STEM and letting them know that, hey, you might not see young women in STEM right now, but you can be a young woman in STEM who can inspire another young woman to go into STEM and have a kind of domino effect years into the future. So we can eventually raise the percentage of women in STEM from just 29% to as high as possible. But that's my goal, to get my MD and my PhD from Hopkins and just continue with my program for as long as I can.
Those are great goals. Actually, I have a daughter who's at Johns Hopkins in the medical and engineering school. Yes.
Awesome. Hopkins is such a cool school.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have any tips for students who may want to start a nonprofit?
I would say that kind of a misconception is that it has to be something like with STEM or with just something specific. People often think that their idea isn't good for giving back to others. But I would say that misconception is exactly that, a misconception. When I had my idea to do a STEM program, I wasn't thinking like, oh, people won't get it, people won't like it. I was just going with what my heart felt the best doing, what I was passionate about. I like doing science experiments. I like to blow stuff up and make a mess, and I love kids. So I combined it all into my program, and here we are now. So I would say whatever your idea is, whatever your passion is, whatever, you love to do, if you have kind of a fire in your heart to share that with other people, then go for it. Whether it's, I love skateboarding, I want to teach kids how to skateboard, I want to teach older people how to skateboard, go ahead and do that. If you love math and you say, you know what, I want to show people that math is awesome and it's easy if you think about it in this way, go ahead and do that. Don't limit yourself to kind of thinking, what will other people think? They won't like it, they won't get it. As long as you're doing what makes you happy and you're having an impact in someone else's life, then you really can't go wrong. Don't limit yourself and think that what you're doing won't make a difference in someone's life, because even if you change one person's life for the better, that's one person who's better off because you helped them. So don't limit yourself. That'd be my advice.
That's great advice. And sound like you are a great mentor for a lot of people, but do you have a mentor? And
yes.
How does mentorship benefit you?
Yes, people always say, oh, Jackie, you're such a great teacher, you're such a great mentor. And I'm telling them, no. I am 19 years old. I don't really know much besides science and what I study in school. Who I really learned from are the mentors in my life. And I would say my mom is definitely my mentor, but definitely a lot of other people. I mentioned her before, Dr. Terry Quinn Gray. She's definitely a major mentor in my life. Dr. Miss Velda Jones Potter, she's definitely a major mentor in my life. These are all women of color who have positively impacted me, seeing them and how they use STEM in their everyday careers and how they've overcome obstacles and challenges and barriers that they've had in their lives and throughout their journeys to get to where they are. But they, overcame them, and now they're doing exactly what they want to do. But also Dr. Velma Scantleberry, she is an incredible woman. She was actually the first transplant surgeon, first Black female transplant surgeon here in America. So she's definitely an inspiration. I mean, she's gone through med school, she's gone through internship, residency, all those different phases of my journey that I'll have to go through. And she's gone through them, and she's just such an inspiration. And of course, Dr. Joan Coker, prominent ear, nose, and throat doctor here in Delaware. And those are just some of the women of color who have really impacted me and inspire me every day. And every time I get to speak with them, just remind me that no matter what barrier I come into contact with or obstacle I may face, it can be overcome as long as I power through and believe in myself and mainly don't give up. But definitely, I would say mentors are a major part of anyone's journey. They have insight to give you. They've been there. They've been exactly where you are. So if you have the chance to get a mentor, reach out, ask them to be your mentor, ask them questions, and just ask them for advice, because they've been exactly where you are and they can definitely be helpful.
Sure. Really, as you're giving some, for 19, you have a lot of wisdom that to share.
Thank you.
So I have a question about your ability to manage all the things that you're doing and staying motivated to continue your studies. I know you mentioned these whiteboards. Is that, I know that's one strategy. Do you have some others?
Yes. So in addition to the 3 whiteboards, I have 2 agendas that keep me on track. And the 2 agendas, they're the same thing. It's for the week. It's for every week or day of the week. I just like to write it down twice just to know that I have it down in my books. But I would say one thing that I do that really helps me is I like to take a lot of breaks when I study, because sometimes it's a lot of information that I'm, absorbing all at once. So what I like to do is, I forget what the method is called, but it's 50 minutes of studying. So you set a timer, and then right when the timer goes off, no matter where you are, you stop what you're doing and you take a 10-minute break. And that's really helpful for me, because when I try to do, 3 hours of just study, I find that my brain gets tired and I stop absorbing the information, and I'm just reading it, but I'm not absorbing it. So that method of 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and just repeating that really helps me. In addition to the 3 whiteboards and the 2 agendas. But yeah, that's my kind of method for continuing with my studies, because I'm telling you, when you have bio lab and chem lab and bio lecture and chem lecture all in one semester, you're gonna need some breaks.
Well, great. And then I'm going to ask a question about this, your summer internship, because do you see that as an important opportunity for students? And, what did you think of that, and what did you learn, and how is that moving you forward in your accomplishments?
Absolutely. So I would say internships are definitely a key part on anyone's journey to whatever career they may want, whether it's in, being a lawyer, whether it's in being a doctor or anything else. I think that an internship can really be eye-opening this is exactly what I want to do, or, what, this isn't quite what I want to do. I might want to check out some other things, because you might have an idea of what you want to do and how it may be, but until you actually kind of get in there and get a feel for things, even if it is just for a summer or just for a winter semester, you might not quite know if that's exactly what you want to do. I know for me, my internship was really, really fun, really, really educational. It was incredible working with researchers at Hopkins. I got to work in the lab of Dr. Rick Huganier, who is a major, just important figure in the neuroscience world. I mean, he's the smartest guy I know. So to be able to learn from him and the students that he's taught was incredible. My personal mentor, Dr. Hannah Goldschmidt, had been in his lab for, I want to say, maybe 5 or 6 years, and she was also really knowledgeable. And just being able to learn from people who have been in the field and are currently doing research in neuroscience at the institution that I want to go to in just a few years was amazing. And like I said, reminded me that this is exactly what I want to be doing. It wasn't like, oh, this is a bit much for me. It's not quite what I want. It was more of a feeling like, oh, I can't wait to get in here and do this and be amongst these incredible people who are doing amazing work. So I would say internships are an incredibly valuable experience that I recommend everyone try. It can be just insightful and just educational overall to let you know if this is what you want to do, if you want to go a different route.
I think that's excellent. And we have a very good undergraduate research program on campus here, where students can, for 10 weeks, they can be paid about $4,000 to $5,000 to work in a lab or in a community, but to be able to do their work. So I hope that's something else that the students here will take advantage of, so they can gain that kind of experience. So I just have one more question, and that is, do you believe it's important for students to connect with the Career Center? What do you think about that?
I do. I know that for me, I think for really any college student, when you're young and you have an idea of what you want to do, but you're not quite sure, like, oh, I like medicine. Medicine is a huge career field. I mean, there's thousands of jobs in medicine. So you might need some help from someone who's older and wiser and has a bit more experience and knowledge, directing young students on kind of the right path for them. So I would say to connect with the Career Center and someone who can just help guide you through the crazy world of college and there's so many jobs out there. Just to have someone who can help you and guide you to a career that you'll really love and have a passion for and mainly be happy doing. I think that that's really important and really valuable. Just like doing an internship, it can be insightful and eye-opening and just helpful. It can be hard when you're young and you're just coming into college and they throw at you, hey, pick a career for the rest of your life, so it's nice to have someone who can kind of hold your hand a little bit and help guide you and introduce you to new careers that you hadn't thought about, or paths that you hadn't maybe taken into account because you didn't think you'd be a good fit for them, but turns out you are. So I would say just to have someone to talk to and ask for advice and tips about, hey, what career, what do you think? What should I do? Just advice. I think that's really, really helpful and valuable just as an internship, things that can just be great experiences to help guide you to the perfect career.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our students really appreciate all that you are doing and all that you will become. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Overby. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. So shall I turn it over to Jen now?
Thank you so much. So Jackie, let me tell everyone who's here, please feel free to put a question in the chat. If you have something in your mind, we'll certainly ask that. When I have my own question, I am the health and science liaison in the Career Center. So I meet with a lot of pre-med, pre-dental, pre-PT, those kinds of programs, students. And the time that you're in, the time frame that you're currently in the sophomore year is really a crunch time. So many students come to me pretty stressed out, wondering if medicine is still for them because of taking all the sciences at once. And so I would love to hear how you're coping with that. I know you mentioned your organization and all of that. Is it, so some students feel like it's a means to an end. If they can get through it, then they can get to the next part, so how do you view this crunch time in your own opinion?
Yeah, awesome question. Thank you. So one thing that happened to me, I'd say maybe 2 years ago or so, I told my older brother, he always knew I wanted to be, my goal is to be a pediatric neurosurgeon because it combines three things I really, really love. The first one being kids. I adore kids. That's exactly why I do what I do. I just think they're the funniest and they say the silliest things. So I just love kids. The second one being the brain. I have always been fascinated by the brain. I mean, we've known about it for hundreds and hundreds of years, yet we know this much to know. We know this much and there's this much to know. So it's just, I know that I would never be bored because I would always be learning about the brain, which is awesome. And then the last thing being helping people. I've always loved helping people, hence why I have my organization, and pediatric neurosurgery lets me combine those three things. So I've always said, oh, I want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. I want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon from when I was like 7. And everyone looked at me like I had 6 eyes because a 7-year-old is like, oh, I want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. And I remember my mom, she joked with me a few years back. She's like, I thought you were going to grow up to be a serial killer because what 7-year-old says you want to be a pediatric neurosurgeon? And I was like, no, I just wanted to be a doctor. So she always jokes about that with me. But I was talking to my older brother and he was like, do you still want to, be a pediatric neurosurgeon? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to help kids. I want to help people. And I want to work with the brain. And that's the perfect intersection of all of that. And he was like, it's a long time in school. You have undergrad, you have med school, you want to get your PhD. So you have that as well. And then you have internship, residency. And he was listing off all these different things I have to do. And I was like, yeah, I know, that's kind of what I have to do if I want to become a good doctor, and I want to help people and be able to, fix them up. And he was like, that's a long time. Are you sure you want to do all that? And I said, well, the time is going to pass anyway. So, 12 years will go by. I can be in the same place I am today, or I can be, who I want to be. I can reach those goals that I've set. So my kind of coping mechanism when I get a little stressed out is to take a break, go for a walk, go for a run, go eat El Diablo, my favorite burrito place, or just take a chill pill, and then remind myself that the time is going to pass anyway. So I want to use the time wisely. So in a few years, when I look back, I can say, you know what, it was so worth it. I'm so glad that I, powered through those chem labs and those bio labs, and I made my way to where I want to be. I'm so glad that I'm not in the same place that I was 4, 5, 6, or however many years ago. I'm so glad that I worked through it and I'm where I want to be now. So my coping mechanism is just the time is going to pass anyway. So you might as well work hard to get to where you want to be.
I really love that perspective. It's not one that I hear often. And if you, with your permission, I'll share that with students that I meet with.
Please, yeah.
Absolutely true. Looking back, I think, oh yeah, yes, the time's going to pass anyway. So you may as well do something that's worthwhile. For sure. Love that. We did have one question come through in the chat, which is a good one. Why did you choose University of Delaware over other potential universities?
Yes, awesome question. People always ask me that because I don't know if a lot of people know, but people often think that Johns Hopkins is just a medical school, but they don't realize that they have the undergrad program as well, and also graduate and master's programs and all of that stuff, but I'm not quite there. So they do have an undergraduate program, and people ask me, why didn't you just go to Hopkins if that's where you want to go in the future? And I told them, well, I still feel like I have a lot of work to do here in Delaware. And while Hopkins isn't that far away, it's only in Baltimore, it is a bit further than I want to be. I still want to have an impact in my community. And while I still have, the kind of time on my hands as a college student and not a med school student, I still want to do my science demos and go into schools and go into community centers. And I think that UD being only a 20-minute drive from where I currently live in Southbridge, that is something that allows me to still do those things. Because like I said, I want to have an impact and have a positive effect on my community for as long as I can. And I figured over these next 4 years, that's just a bit more time that I have to continue to bring positivity and fun hands-on STEM to my community. And I want to use that time to do that. I would rather stay right here in Delaware and then go up to Baltimore rather than just go straight to Baltimore, because I still feel I have a lot of work to do here.
Absolutely. And, it's great to give back to a community, or just give some kind of, when you think about Delaware, we're so small, and you've got University of Delaware and Delaware State, and so it's nice to have a place to go that's close to home where you can make some kind of impact. So that's excellent. Another question that we were asked to ask is about your ability to tap into mass communications. So as a young woman, you've gotten a lot of notoriety and a lot of visibility. How did you tap into that? What kind of method did you use, and did you have anyone helping you with that?
Yes. So I'm sure you can imagine a 12-year-old doesn't really know much about using emails, doesn't really know much about following up and all of that stuff. So I mentioned her before, my awesome mom, AKA my mom manager. She's actually the one who kind of taught me how the ropes of how helpful emails can be and phone calls and the art of following up. It really is an art, because these TV producers, oh my goodness, they are busy people. So it's not enough to email them once. It's not enough to email them twice. Sometimes you have to email them 56 times until they get back to you, and still call them and continue to follow up, and never get annoyed because they will drop you like a hot potato. But my mom was really the one who showed me the ropes and was like, here's how you should format your emails. You should put, your name, a greeting, and then kind of why you're emailing them, and then a thank you and things like that, and follow up with them, because I'm sure their emails and their inboxes get flooded with all kinds of people asking to be featured, or wondering, when will you be over in on the East Coast, or things like that. She was the one who really taught me. So, now that I'm 19, I've gotten pretty experienced with it. So she's not quite so much holding my hand anymore, but she was definitely in the first few years the main one who was teaching me how to go through my emails and write emails and get in contact with people, and again, the art of following up. But definitely the TV shows and all the features are super fun. I mean, I have gotten to meet Mario Lopez a few times. I got to meet Lala Anthony, which was really cool. Just some awesome people. I mean, Steve Harvey is a really cool guy. He's super funny. Dr. Oz, Kelly Clarkson, and so many others who are just kind people, really funny people too. But I would say, as much fun as those features are, I'm really grateful that I've had them, because it helps me spread my message. And that's what I'm all about, spreading my message of how important it is that we encourage young girls to go into STEM fields and empower them to go into these fields, and know that you might not see other women in your field, you might not see other people of color in your field, but know that you are being supported, you are being watched by other young people, other people of color, who are watching your every move and saying, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too. But definitely the art of following up and sending a good email is unbeatable. And that's part of the reason why I've been able to be featured on all those different national TV shows.
That's amazing. We try to, at the Career Center, we try to teach those very important practices as well. So it's good to hear that. Another question came through the chat. Does your STEM initiative offer volunteer positions for others to assist you in mentoring the girls?
So I always get asked this question. My STEM program, I didn't realize until people started asking me, is pretty much like a one-woman show. I pack up my bling lab coat and my sparkly goggles and my pink gloves, and I go to the schools, I go to the community centers, or I have my own event, and I have the girls come to me. But one thing that I'm doing as COVID gets a bit better and people get vaccinated, I myself am fully vaccinated, go vaccination, things like that. As more people, COVID gets a bit better and people get vaccinated, I have been doing bigger events. I remember when COVID was kind of at its height, I was doing totally virtual things. Everything was virtual. I wasn't really doing anything in person, but now I'm getting back to doing in person, and I could always use a helping hand. Sometimes people just want to take pictures. They bring their tripods and their recorders because they have, they want to shoot a little documentary or something, which is super cool. The girls always love being filmed. But I would say, if you're interested in volunteering and I have any positions open, please feel free to email me. You can go right to my website. It is www.stem-queen.com. You can go to contact and just write me a message and say, hey, I saw you speak and I would love to come help, and I'll find something for you to do. It might not be an event this month, but definitely I do a lot of community service and a lot of different events. And I'm telling you, these girls, they need some hands-on help. Sometimes they get a little food dye happy and they pour too much, or sometimes they get a little dish soap happy and pour too much. So it's always nice to have someone who can kind of guide their hands when I'm leading them in the experiment. So feel free to send me a message, and I, of course, will get back to you as soon as I can.
Excellent. And hopefully I put the correct website in the chat there.
It looked good to me.
Right. You said dash, right? STEM dash.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Okay. Kind of turning, just a few more questions, kind of turning to the side of skill building. In your opinion, what do you think are the most marketable skills for students to highlight when they're seeking positions in STEM?
That's an awesome question. And, I feel like I'm going to give such a cheesy answer, but it's the truth. Everyone is unique and everyone is different. So my most marketable skill might not be your most marketable skill. I think it's about recognizing your strengths and also your weaknesses and things you can improve upon, but definitely those strengths and playing to them. If you're really good at, coding or something, definitely talk about that. If you're not so good at, cooking, for example, don't talk about, oh, I'm really terrible at cooking, I can't even make an omelet, and then at the end say, oh, I'm great at coding. No. Let's really harp on that thing you're great at, that one or two or however many skills you have that make you unique and different from other people, as opposed to, what you might not be so great at. I know for me, I am pretty awesome at showing my science experiments. Now, I'm not the best when it comes to always explaining exactly the chemicals. People, sometimes I'll have older people in my audiences, and they'll be like seasoned chemists, and they'll be like, oh, no. Why did the liquid nitrogen sublimate? And I'm like, oh, I don't know all of that. I just know liquid nitrogen sublimates at this temperature. I don't know why it does that. But I definitely always play to my strengths, and that would be my advice for other people. Play to your strengths, tell the opportunity you're reaching out to, or the employer you're reaching out to, exactly why they should be hiring you, and mainly what makes you different from other people. You don't want to put, I'm just like everybody else, then why would they hire you if you're just like everybody else? But if you're unique and different and special, you can play to that strength and talk about that. That'd be my main advice. Tell them why you're different from others and why they should hire you. That'd be my advice.
You are a born career counselor, right, Renee? Excellent. And along the same lines, in terms of a skill that we all need, and you've mentioned it a few times, that is networking. So how has networking helped you get to where you are? / are you a member of any professional associations yet, or student organizations that help you with this?
Got it. Networking, I would say really it was my mom. She taught me everything I know. She is just the best business lady I know. She's pretty awesome. But regarding organizations I'm a part of, I do work very closely with Chemours, which is a branch of the DuPont company. They're a really major sponsor for, I would say, the majority of my events and my supplies that I use. I love having them as a sponsor. They've made it a lot easier. I remember back in high school, I went to the Delaware Military Academy, and thankfully my commandant, which is military for principal, he let me do all the bake sales I wanted, and I would stay up all hours of the night after cheer practice, after Business Professionals of America practice, after chess club meetings and all that good stuff and homework and all that. I would then stay up and bake hundreds and hundreds of cupcakes and hundreds of cookies and take them to school to sell them because I didn't have a sponsor. So I had to find some way to buy all the chemicals I needed and all the supplies I needed. But now Chemours is a sponsor, so no more bake sales. But they're really awesome. That was definitely the result of some networking with them. I would just say regarding networking, go to events that kind of involve whatever career you're interested in. So for me, I'm all about, women and female empowerment and empowering young girls and women to go into STEM. So I found things that were kind of within that world. And this was maybe 5 years ago. I went to the Women's Leadership Summit here in Delaware. It's all about empowering women to be leaders here in our great state. And I met some amazing women who I've been still in contact with to this day. Some women from Chemours who really helped me build this sponsorship with them. So just networking, I would say, going to events, even if they're not just here in Delaware, but even the tri-state area, and networking with people at those sorts of events. If you want to be a lawyer, go to, lawyer conventions, things like that, and just get in contact, get business cards. That'd be my main advice. I have a huge stack of business cards that I follow up with those people often because they are busy, but they do get back, when they get a moment. But going to those kinds of events that encompass whatever field you're interested in, get those business cards, and reach out, email them, follow up. I feel like I sound like my mom. Follow up.
Best advice I've heard yet. Okay, and then one more question. How do you prepare for your public speaking engagements? You seem like a seasoned speaker, and it's really impressive to watch. So how do you prepare? Do you have any tips for people to enhance their own skills in public speaking?
Sure. So I have actually written a lot of papers to scholarship applications and opportunities and things. So I kind of am like a textbook about myself. And I know that might seem a little obvious, like, okay, she's lived her life. Obviously, she knows how to talk about her own life, but it can be challenging when someone asks you, okay, tell me about yourself. You might go, my name's Jackie. Favorite color is turquoise. I have a brother. That's not what they mean. They want to, kind of know, again, what makes you different, what makes you unique, what makes you special. And having written all of those scholarship applications, I really have come to know kind of how to make it concise if I have, well, depending on the time constraints, make it concise, or if I can go into a bit more detail about myself, but really learning kind of the art of talking about myself. And I know that sounds a bit conceited and I hate the way that sounds, but just learning the art of talking about yourself, not giving, I would say, unnecessary facts about you, but really, okay, kind of an elevator pitch. Here's who I am, here's what I do, here's why you need to hire me, here's why you need to have me as your intern, or anything like that, just a good elevator pitch. And I would say it comes from writing those scholarship applications. And then of course, I have my little journals that I keep about the things I do. And of course I have my Instagram and I write my captions. So I would say I kind of do a lot of writing about myself, which again, sounds really conceited now that I think about it. But I do a lot of writing about myself. And again, I would say, I remember you asked me a question about mass communication, something like that. Instagram, social media, things like that, definitely super helpful for getting the word out. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've had reach out to me and say, oh, I saw you on Instagram, I saw you on Facebook, I saw you on Twitter. And, I take a lot of pride in the captions I write because it lets people get to know me, even before they've kind of gotten to know me like this, kind of one-on-one. My phone, it's on 10%. But I would say, I lost my train of thought. Communication, something.
That's okay, because you definitely answered our question.
Okay. My 10% threw me off.
I know, I hate distractions like that, right? But is there anything else that you would like to share or that we didn't have you cover today?
Just plug my Instagram, follow me at STEMQueenDE. That's actually all my social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. It's just STEMQueenDE. If you didn't get to ask me a question today, please feel free to send me one over any of my social media platforms. I am constantly on my phone because I love to have updates on social media and, any people reaching out to me, any opportunities that might pop up, things like that. So feel free to send me a question on any of my social media. It's just STEMQueenDE. But I had a great time talking with all of you today. I hope I was able to teach you something, whether it's about having 3 whiteboards or 2 agendas, or the art of following up, or the art of talking about yourself. If you were able to take anything from today, I am really, really grateful. And thank you for having me. I had a fantastic time.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you, Dr. Overby. We're going to finish up here, but I want to say you should probably write a book. I hope you're writing a book, Jackie. Should make sure.
I should. I'm skilled in talking about myself, so maybe I should write a book now.
And I just wanted to say that I think that's one of the things that a lot of students have trouble with, is talking about themselves and their accomplishments and their skills. And that's the world we live in, where we need to be able to talk about those things. So thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Renee.
All right, well, this was so awesome. Thank you everyone for this evening's discussion. Jackie, you're awesome. You've been connected with us since the summertime, and we're so glad that you are here at UD. And we look forward to working with you again and just seeing you throughout your academic studies. Dr. Overby, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job with the questions, and so we've learned so much. So again, thank you all for sharing your insights, your knowledge, and advice with us this evening. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen one last time, and Jen will talk about some of our upcoming events.
Yes, so as you all know, this is Biotech Takeover Week. So we continue tomorrow with a lunch and learn time frame for government resume writing. The resume process for the federal government is quite different, so please join us for that. Then Eli Lilly will be holding an info session 5 to 6 on Tuesday. On Wednesday, from Blue Hen Business to Biotech Education, that will be Sarah Arth. She works with the Delaware Bio organization. She's got a business background and works in biotech education. So a really cool twist on the industry. And then finally, we culminate with a biotech and biomedical engineering career fair on Thursday evening. So please register and sign up for your one-on-one sessions if you haven't done that already. And then there, as I don't know if you guys know, but Delaware Bio is hosting their annual Inspiring Women in STEM conference. And we are actually, you're able to apply for a grant to attend this. The conference is the leading professional development and networking event in Delaware designed to encourage, support, and inspire women in all aspects of STEM in their professional lives. The conference will be held virtually on Thursday, October 14th, and interested students can submit their application using this link that I will put in the chat. Actually, I think Renee already did that. So please, please, please apply. And please also don't hesitate to reach out to Renee or I if you have questions about career related issues. And thank you so much for everything. This brings our evening to a conclusion.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.